Welcome to the Coaching Crowd Business Lounge with me, Zoe Hawkins. And today I am joined by Deborah, who's going to introduce herself in just a moment. And Deborah is here as one of our clients who has trained with us as a coach and is now using her coaching skills in her business. So you will not be hearing the dulcet tones of Joe and I today, just myself and Deborah. So Deborah, share with us, who are you and what brings you here today?
Oh, hi, thank you for having me. So I trained with you I started the training back in 2020, do my coaching training, almost at the end of that journey, fingers crossed. And so I'm currently HR consultant, so have my own HR consultancy, and looking forward to bringing the coaching side of that into the business in time.
Fantastic. And you were part of our lockdown experiment, I think, weren't you? So
Yeah.
for those of you listening who don't know the history, Joe and I actually used to train in person in both Bristol, Reading and in Plymouth. And we'd always planned to move online and move our coaching training online to be able to reach more people. And then obviously this little thing called COVID came along and really accelerated those plans. And that was in March 2020 when we were supposed to be doing our program in person. And we reached out to everybody and said, we're just going to delay it for a couple of weeks, because that will all blow over in a couple of weeks. And obviously 2 weeks came and went. And we ended up going online. And Deborah, you were part of the first cohort of people that joined us in what now is our fully fledged program. So before we get in, I guess, to the experience of all of that, tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, so I've worked in HR for, goodness me, more than over 15 years. Probably heading toward the 20 mark. I'd always been in very HR generalist roles, worked in quite large companies. I'd recently come out of a role or a company that I'd been in for 8 years in HR at the point that I started the coaching. So I was at quite I'd say a transitional phase. I think in my head, I knew I wanted to do something a little bit different to the generalist HR roles in large companies. But I am still doing HR and now, I actually work for myself. And I think that's as a result of having done the coaching, it helped me to figure out how I wanted to use that experience I had, but do something a little bit different.
So how did you find us and make the decision to come and join us?
So I'd been coaching. To become a coach had been something that had been in my head for a while, but I'd never really, for a long time, I didn't think about it seriously. Probably partly because I had 2 small children. I think at the time, they were very tiny at the time. And I think I kept thinking, oh no, I can't possibly think about doing, training. Just need to just kind of deal with life and getting the children a little bit older. And so I didn't really think about it seriously. And as I said, I think just before the pandemic, I'd been at a slightly transitional phase of knowing I just needed to do something a bit different. And so I went to work for a small business as a HR manager, but the coaching thing just didn't go away. And it was actually because of the pandemic that I did it there and then. And I think it was probably about the April, May time, it was, life was very quiet. We couldn't go anywhere. And I think I just started, it reignited something. I just started looking into it again, found you and online. And I think probably within a week of sort of thinking, maybe I should look into it, I think I was signed up to come and joining a company and started my training in June.
And how did you find it? The context you're setting for us there, 2 very small children at home, locked down in the midst of a pandemic, having started a new career, or not a new career, but certainly a new job in a new chapter of your career. And then in this online kind of training world, how was it for you?
It was quite tough. Yeah, I'm probably not going to sugarcoat it in that way. And from a time perspective, I think at the point I signed up, I thought, oh, we've got all this time. We can't go anywhere, can't do anything. I've got plenty of time on my hands. But actually, I didn't anticipate that, the lockdowns would keep going. And, even the January following that, my eldest son was at school by then. And so I was doing homeschooling. So from a time perspective, it was really tough. But even with all that going on, just coming to those weekly sessions, it was just brilliant to have, 2 hours a week where it was something different. It was me, it was learning, and doing the mini sort of coaching sessions within those, the 2 hour sessions was, it was time for me, time to reflect. So in some ways it actually helped me to get through that, what was a difficult time for everybody with all the lockdowns and things. It was, I'm glad I actually had it, despite the fact it was always a bit of a juggle.
Yeah. And probably one of the questions we get the most from people who are interested in doing the program is around time. How much time is it going to take? Do I have the time to do it? Can I commit the time? And, what we see of people who do come is those weekly sessions become a bit of a sanctuary, and the coaching training, yes, it is time consuming. You're absolutely right. You can't sugarcoat that, but it is joyful. And so it's invigorating rather than draining. And we find that people tend to prioritize that over and above perhaps, binge watching Netflix an evening, or, it's amazing how much time we do have when we sit and really analyze how we spend our time and what goes on. And I think when something ignites, that curiosity and kind of wakes up something within you, it's something you find the time for. And I remember the cohort well. My children would come in, your children would come in, other people's children would come in. It was just that time, wasn't it, where life and work sort of was in this strange mixing pot. But I'm glad you found the opportunity to do it when you did.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I'm glad I did it then, because I think it's one of those things I could have gone on for a long time just thinking now's not the right time. I think actually there was never going to be a right time. So I think just having that crazy moment of, oh, life's very quiet at the moment, why don't I do it? I'm glad actually something pushed me to do it. Because otherwise I'm pretty sure I'd probably be sat here now thinking, oh, maybe I should do a coaching course. So it's done and it's great.
Absolutely. And I'm a big believer that the only time is now. It doesn't have to be the perfect time. It has to be right enough. I think that's really the question that we tend to ask people who are in that space of wondering, is it a good enough time compared to all the other moments perhaps that you have had. So you came along then to our coaching training. It sounds like some big shifts happened because you left the HR world and have set up your own consultancy. So what did you get from the coaching training above and beyond learning to become a coach?
Yeah, I think so much. I could talk all day about what I got from it, but I think some of the things that were really important for me, and it was actually the work around values, and I think also actually just taking that time to reflect and trying to understand, what was it that I wanted? What is important to me? And I think it helped me to understand actually, why aren't I happy in the career that I've got? And I don't think I'd ever really been able to pinpoint it, but actually by doing the coaching, I was able to work all of those things out. And and again, setting up a HR consultancy, it's something I thought, it'd be nice to do, but I just could never quite figure out how I'd do it. But, just doing the coaching gave me the tools to work through, well, actually, why can't I do it? And I think I thought I couldn't do it, but actually the confidence that I can do it somehow came from doing the coaching. But I would say the values was an important part of making the leap as well.
And many people who come on these programs that they themselves have ideas around perhaps one day leaving the corporate world, one day setting up a business. And it sounds like you worked through some of that. Give us a flavor of how has business gone? Because I think a lot of people think, I'm going to have to save for 12 months to secure myself, and I'll be quiet and I'll have no clients. But it's been a very different experience for you, hasn't it? So how has it been, and what's worked for you?
Yeah, I've been very surprised because I thought all of those things. I thought, oh, I actually, I need a cushion financially to be able to get myself to a great point. But what really surprised me is how far you can go by using your network and people that you already know. And that's where most of my work has come from, is through people I already knew. And yes, I've made new contacts and some work's come that way, but actually people that I've known for years and perhaps don't talk to regularly. And, so LinkedIn's been great for connecting with people in that way. And contacts has been, probably the biggest thing from a setting up a business perspective.
So values was a big takeaway for you. How about actually becoming a coach? How did you find that process? Because it's whilst in, HR careers, we do advise and we guide and, we nurture and mentor, and to an extent coach. But how did you find actually the transition from that world into becoming a coach itself?
Yeah. So I think I always thought, wow, coaching will be what I do 100% of the time. But actually what I found is that I love doing the coaching. But for me, I think I probably need a bit of a mixture of doing other things. I think one-on-one coaching for me, absolutely love it. But having some of the HR work and, it's very different. It's, I suppose it can be less intense. Coaching, it's almost quite intensive and doing those sessions. So for me, I was like, I love doing that, but I think I need a balance of different things. So I'm really pleased that, I've set up the HR consultancy, and hopefully, I'm really excited about actually folding in the coaching into that. I'm not quite sure exactly what it looks like. But I think previously I felt it was either one or the other. Either I do HR or I do coaching. And so for me, it's I've got to the point where I'm like, actually, no, it's brilliant. I can do both. And yes, they can have their sort of separate places within my business, but they interlink so beautifully as well. And it will give me that variety that I need from the work I do.
And I think that's the reality of many businesses, of independent businesses, that to coach all of the time can be exhausting, if you have a full portfolio of coaches, because it's as you say, it's very intense, it's very giving. There's a lot of energy that goes into coaching. And in reality, I think blended businesses where you have more than one service offering. So obviously for us, we coach leaders, coach executives, and we have the coaching training, and we have our membership. And I think many businesses have a range of services. And in terms of learning the skills to become a coach and going on that kind of learning journey, how was that for you?
Yeah, it's been a huge learning journey. And I think what I realized quite quickly once I started with my practice clients was, from each client you have, you learn so much. And completely different things, because people are so different, each person is so different, and so what you take away from it and learn, and probably from the supervision sessions I've done with you, it's the kind of reflections you have are just completely different with each client. So it's been a massive learning journey, and in some ways it's almost it just keeps going. That learning journey keeps going. With the more clients I have, I just feel it's even greater. So it's been a massive learning curve. And I've almost had to adjust my mindset a little bit. I think I almost felt like with each client, I'll just feel way more confident. But actually, it's like, no, I'm just going to keep learning. And so I've got my head around that now.
Yeah, I don't think that goes away. Like when I coach today, some clients, every single client teaches me something. I find some clients more challenging than others. And, as you said, everyone is different. People are complex, and what worked for one client may not work for another. And I think the skill of being a coach is that agility to be able to, well, firstly, as you said, keep learning, and also be adaptable and try different things out, have the courage to be creative, and work with clients where they're at and with what they need, rather than perhaps standard ideas that you've had that have worked for previous clients, but it's not a sort of cookie cutter approach coaching, is it? It's very tailored and unique.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And actually you use the word courage there, and I think that's been a really important learning point for me, in terms of actually having the courage to try different things. And yeah, I sort of think, oh yes, I've dealt with this kind of thing in a previous client, but different people need different things and need to be coached in different ways. And yes, I've had to really put myself out my comfort zone to be like, actually, I'm just going to try this. And it may just be something I learned about more theoretically with you, but it's like, no, now's the time to do it. And these are my practice clients. They're called practice clients for a reason. And but I've really enjoyed that learning journey.
What was the biggest takeaway been for you?
Gosh, I think yeah, for me personally, it was around, it sounds a bit cheesy, but anything's possible. I think I went on this journey of, oh, that's just something other people do, and actually how resourceful we are and what we can actually achieve if we put our mind to it, if we think about things in the right way, actually what we can achieve is quite amazing. And that's for me personally, of what I've achieved, how far I've come in a year, from being in a job that I was, I'm not really loving this kind of work, to actually having set up a business, which actually, if you'd asked me 18 months ago, I'd have thought, oh, I'd have no idea how to set up a business. And, I've come that far. So for me, it's been an amazing journey. And, and that's something obviously I can then use to think about when I'm coaching, is, well, if I can go on a journey like that from having been through coaching, I can coach other people to go on a huge journey as well, and achieve things that they didn't think they could achieve.
Yeah, coaching comes with a warning, doesn't it? We sort of try to, share that in a really empowering way on the start of the program. And, it's not everybody makes massive life changes as part of the coaching journey, but change is almost inevitable when you're being coached and experiencing coaching, whether that is internal change in the way that you think and feel about yourself and the world, or whether it's that and the external environment in terms of the ripple effect that brings. But we know that lots of life changes happen as part of training to be a coach, and through coaching itself. And I think it's nice to be able to have that, almost that client experience, to know how your clients feel, because as impressive and inspirational as the journeys are that people take, it's also filled with lots of emotions and lots of critical decisions and points, and an internal wrestling before you sort of emerge on the other side. So it's really inspiring to hear how you've used coaching to sort of change your career and your life, right? Because being employed to being self-employed when you have a young family, how has it been life-changing for you?
Oh, it's been fantastic. And, I think that was one of my, not the only one, but it was one of the big drivers, was actually to get the flexibility for, I've now got 2 children at school, and it was almost a bit easier when they were both in nursery, full time, but actually having, I feel they actually need me more. And so having that flexibility around my time, and feeling like I've got control over my time, is much better than, when I was in a job, Monday to Friday, you're just working nonstop. There's just no give, no flexibility. But it was about having control over the kind of work I was doing, and me being able to, do the work that I love, rather than doing a wide range of everything and anything that comes under the heading of HR. I've got that control and freedom to do what I want now. So that, between that and the family element, it's just been, it's been It's been quite life-changing, and I think my husband would probably also say, you know, as a family, it's made a massive difference for all of us.
It was one of my big drivers when I left the corporate world to set up my own business. I only had one child at the time. I actually made the decision before I had my first child. I have got three now, and I was chatting to a prospective client just this week for for an annual contract to support a startup with their growth and their coaching. And we were talking about timelines and when they might reach approval and when we might kick off the work. And I was just casually, I'm like, oh, well, Joe and I both take August off. So, you know, if you want to start before that, we'll need the approval by then, you know, so on and so forth. And he's like, well, how come you take the summer off? Is that for the kids? And I was like, well, it's for fun, really. Like, it is for the kids. That's kind of how it started. It was to build a life around the children, but it's about having freedom of choice, isn't it? And actually to be able to create a business around your values and around the way you live your life. It's nice to be able to spend the summers with the kids, but who doesn't want to take a month off as well? So, you know, to create options for yourself, I think coaching is a great vehicle for that.
Yeah.
So listen, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey today. If there are people listening and are in a similar position to you, perhaps in an HR career or similar, where things aren't 100% enjoyable, or they're thirsty for something else or more, but equally have some doubts around, could they do it? Should they do it? Is the time right? What advice would you offer to them?
Just do it. Absolutely. I think, you know, yeah. And coaching is just a fantastic way to, you know, to have a coach yourself, to think it all through. But I would just say, you know, if you've got doubts, just, you know, take it seriously and really think about how you can make it happen.
Thanks, Deborah. And where can people find you? So if they want to come and have a nose at who you are and your business and what you do, where can people find more out about you?
Yep. So I'm on LinkedIn, but also my business is Freedom HR Consulting. So I have a website, which is freedomhr.co.uk. So I can be found on there. But also, feel free to contact me on LinkedIn.
Brilliant. Thank you, Deborah. It's been great chatting to you and hearing your story. And if you relate to Deborah's story and you want to find out more about coaching, then do come and take a look at our website, which is www.igcompany.co.uk, or you can do our quiz at mycoachingcourse.com, which will help you to decide which coaching course is right for you.